Hey guys, it's Andy Jeff, and today we're replacing the ceiling fan because it makes a noise while it's running, and that annoys me. Some of the tools that you are going to need for this job include an electrical kit. I have this cool one I bought from Amazon. I'll leave a link down below in the description if you want it, and that will actually help me out because I get a little kickback and it's no additional cost to you. I'm gonna use a drill driver and all of the bits and everything, but you could probably get away with just a really good, multi screwdriver. This is a 13-in-1 Milwaukee. I did a video on it as well. And because you don't want to go zappy zap, we're gonna have an electrical tester because this will save your life. So before you climb up your ladder and start taking the old one down, what we're gonna do is we are going to go kill the breaker. I don't have anything in this house, so I'm going to kill the breaker to the entire house. You might need to have a little bit of help and flip the individual breaker until the power turns off to your ceiling fan. So if you are like me and absolutely am not a fan of electricity because you don't like being shocked, just go kick off your whole house, which is the big breaker. Knock that whole thing off, and now we're good to go. Also, bring a flashlight so that way you can get out of your basement if you have one. This little guy is magnificent. It even has a magnetic holder for bits as well, which I keep these two on it all the time. Honestly, if you don't have one and you need a little drill driver, they're amazing. I'll leave a link in the description for this as well if you're interested. So in reality, the first step is to start deconstructing this, which there's multiple ways we can go about it. I'm actually going to start by taking these screws off, just so nothing ends up falling, which is going to drop down all the lights. And that's the breakable part, and then we can go from there. All right, last one is the best one. Now, this is totally going to fall right after this. So trying to hold this with one hand and film for you guys. Sheesh, look at that, that's worth a like. Right there. So now we've exposed the wiring. I'm gonna unhook the lights. But first, we wanna make sure that there's no electricity anyplace. So even though we shut the main breaker off, I'm taking this little guy and running around here, there's no electricity. This little guy, it blinks red, but it's solid red if there's electricity present. Because Handy Jeff don't like to go zappy zap. So this is a lifesaver. And if you need one, you already know what I'm gonna say. It's down below in the description. Help me out and give me a little kickback, and that helps me make videos for you guys. All right, so we're just gonna remove wire nuts. I wish I had a tripod as big as my ladder so that you could see what was going on up here, but I just do not. And there we go. All the lights are free, breakable parts done. I'm gonna set this bad boy down and then continue the deconstruction process. We are gonna go straight to the top and take these bad boys off, these screws, because that should be what's holding the fan on. And you could just drop this down and make it really light if you wanted to. But now the breakable stuff's gone, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take the main brackets off. Let the fun begin. The landlord special on these screws, they are completely covered in paint. Ooh, we got a little bit of movement. Could it be? And we are free. Here are our wire nuts that are connecting to the ceiling fan. We're just gonna go ahead and remove those bad boys. Now, our ceiling fan is free. So let's get rid of this. Now here's the disclaimer. I'm not going to mount this into a box. You should mount it into a box. As you can tell, I've got old knob and tube wiring in this house. So all of the wiring in this house doesn't have a ground. It's grounded to itself. That's a risk for electrical stuff. And also, if you're mounting into a ceiling, you want to make sure the fan has good support. However, I know this isn't moving because of the fact that this is lath and plaster. And so they've got it drilled into some lath. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove these 4 screws, which will be fun because they are straight heads. Well, you know what? Newer's not always better. So just because you have the power tools doesn't mean that they're always going to work, which is why it's always nice to have a backup. using a hand tool, because straight screws are really hard to get the drill bit to work with. Oh, it's magic. Got rid of it. Now it's time to put the new mounting bracket up, but let me show you what I'm working with here, okay? So we've got this little guy from Patriot Lighting that we were replacing the old ceiling fan with. There's a mounting bracket. We've got some of the parts laid out on the floor. This is gonna be fun, let me tell you. Let's get to it. So overkill isn't necessarily a bad thing. So we're gonna make sure that this bracket isn't going to move at all. These are where your screw holes are on this particular model. So what we're gonna do, let me bend these wires out to help hold it up. Look at that. I'm gonna load up my drill with a construction screw. Once again, disclaimer, you should not mount a bracket directly to the ceiling, but desperate times, and I just don't feel like retrofitting. Luckily for me, you can hear that that was really biting down on that screw. It seems like there's some kind of backing there, which is great news. I'm actually gonna do 2 more screws as well, just right up in our mounting bracket points. Tighten everything up, make sure it isn't gonna move. There's definitely some backing back there, thank goodness. Now what we have to do is we've got to set our motor up for being connected, and that is going to come from taking off these mounting little brackets. I'm switching back to a screwdriver, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove all 4 of these screws and washers so that we can mount the motor in place. All right, now that we've got the screws off, it's time to set this little guy up in there, how it sits, which is right up in through here. But we may want to connect our wires first. I think we'll be okay. We don't need to connect the wires as long as we've got access to all of the wires that are included in this loom here. We will be good to go. All right, now we just have to match up our screw holes that we just took out with the holes from the mounting bracket, which looks like this one's gonna go, hopefully. And this is what is actually going to attach the motor to the fan base mounting bracket. Well, as you can tell, that wasn't all the way in. You know, guys, mistakes happen, and we just want to make sure that everything's good to go, so make sure that your screws are going into where they need to. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and screw these things in so that I know that they are attached. Now, every ceiling fan is going to have a different mounting procedure, so just make sure you follow the one that is on your particular ceiling fan. They come with instructions for a reason, guys. Woo. Oh, dropped a screw. That's okay. Call me Butterfingers today. I've dropped these screws a couple times. It's because I'm in a hurry. And trying to film when you're in a hurry never ends well. Okay, so at this point, we're getting ready to actually wire up the ceiling fan. And you could trust your old wiring, but who knows if they did it right. So now I'm back downstairs, turning the breaker back on. And we're gonna use our electrical tester to determine exactly which wire is hot. Turn our breaker back on. Now listen closely. This part is very important. These are going to be live electrical wires, so do not touch them. As you can see here, we are going to make sure that the wires coming out are not touching anything. There's going to be live electrical current coming through here, and that could very well become an arc welder, and we don't want that. Okay, so moment of truth, we're gonna turn our electrical tester on, and we are gonna flip this switch. Are we gonna have an arc welder? Impressive. So if you notice, I put the wires on 2 separate locations. One's coming out this way, one's coming out the far side. Now if we check this one, it's hot. So that's your hot wire. That's gonna be your black and your blue. But just in case the house is wired weird, let's check this side. As you can see, we are still not hot. which is great, which means this is going to be our hot wire. Walk with me here. So I'm going to flip this switch and go flip that breaker off again. But while I'm walking, I just want to explain that most houses nowadays, if it's newer than 100 years old, like this house, won't have knob and tube wiring, and it'll have color coded, but you still should probably check because you never know who wired it. Maybe it was Uncle Ned on a Friday night after a case of Busch Light, and they've got the whole house wired wrong. Same thing happens with plumbing. You know, they mix up hot and cold water lines all the time. So just worthwhile to check before you install this and have a potential fire hazard. Once again, we are going to check to make sure that our wire is off, which it is. Perfect. I'm going to grab some wire nuts. They sent some wire nuts with this kit. They are tiny. That's not going to work for my knob and tube, which is why having that handy dandy wiring kit that I have, electrical kit, is perfect. Okay, so I'm going to grab some wire nuts that actually fit. We're just going to need 2 of those little guys, make sure that they're good. Okay, so now we are going to get down to business. On this particular model, it has a dimmer switch or a dimmer ability on it. So it's got a black and blue wire. And those, both the black and blue wires will go to our hot wire, which if you remember was on the side closest to us. So let's go ahead and wire all 3 of those together. You do that by just putting the wire nut on and twisting. You gotta make sure they're all of the wires are facing the same direction though. And you will feel it. You will feel it lock down and be tight. And then you want to give it a check, make sure that there are no bare wires, because if there are, you want to electrical tape them or insulate them somehow. You could just leave it like this, but I'm also going to electrical tape this just as an extra safety precaution. So we're going to go ahead, just tape this wire nut up right at the very back, which there isn't much room to work. I just want to make sure that there's no chance that anything could get in there to cause this wire to arc, because that means we're all having a bad day. Perfection. We do have a grounding screw, or we do not have a grounding screw, but it was grounded to itself. So in the event that something happens, I would like it to attempt to kick the breaker without lighting on fire. So I'm going to go ahead and ground this to one of these mounting bracket screws. If you have a green portion on your mounting box, which you should, go ahead and ground that, and then it will be bonded properly. This is improperly bonded, but it's the best we can do with what we've got. Now this white wire goes to our neutral wire, which if we remember was coming out the far side. So we're just gonna feed this through. Clear over to the other side here. Get our wire nut. Now I'm gonna climb up in here. Try to give you guys a view. This is a little difficult. Making sure that I can see what I'm doing and you guys can see too. I should have a GoPro for this. So once again, we're just gonna line our wires up straight and then thread that wire nut on. Obviously I'm holding you with the camera and I don't have 3 hands, so I'm gonna have to set you down, but just so you know how to do it. All right, you guys might not be able to see anything because you're back in your assigned seat on the tripod. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this up. That nut is very tight. And once again, I'm gonna take a little bit of electrician's tape, electrical tape, whatever you want to call it, and just wrap the end where the wire connection is to hold it on and to insulate it a little bit extra. Because nobody wants to have an arc welder happen when you're watching the Super Bowl, because you know things happen at home at the most unideal times. It is now cover time, so we're going to cover all of this jazz up. You can see our 2 screws right here, and there are 2 exactly like it on the opposite side. One we can just loosen, and once we loosen it, it'll just slide up in there. But we're going to go ahead and take these screws out because we're going to have to go directly onto them. So now I'm going to loosen the 2 screws that will allow us to just slide right on. Take our cover up and away. Slide in on one side, slide in on the other, slide it over. Now we don't have to tighten them yet because it'll allow us to move around a little bit if we need to find a way to line up the screws, but it looks like we're good right there. Once you get your screws lined up, we're gonna just go ahead and tighten all of them down. We are tightened down now. Perfect. And guys, with that, we're gonna take another break and I'll just have to come back next week when I have time because somebody just dropped off a package that doesn't belong here. So I'm gonna run that to the neighbor because I'm a good person and I'm running out of time anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and just run that over there and we'll see you in a little bit because of the magic of the internet. You won't know that it's gonna be a few days. All right, now for the fun part. We get to choose our blade color. It can either be wood or black. Now, no matter what you choose, people are gonna disagree. But the way I look at it, this room, it's mostly brown and has a lot of woodwork, so I'm gonna go with wood because I want the blades to blend in. But the good thing is they're reversible, so when I finally do paint this room and probably put a little bit more gray because I'm a millennial into the walls, we can do black. We can switch it around. So we're gonna go with wood for the time being. Okay, so this process is pretty easy. So let me show you how it's done. Obviously the decorative side is going to be down. So this is choosing the wood side. We're gonna flip this over and we're gonna need 3 screws and then 3 washers because we don't want to damage the wood. Then literally all we have to do is just go ahead and screw these guys down. I've got a drill to make it super easy. And we just don't want to over tighten it. And that's one blade done. Now lather, rinse, repeat because we've got 4 more to do. All right, now that is what I'm talking about. Let's get it done. And on this particular fan, our screws to be able to hang the blades are already on here. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna loosen these bad boys. But since they are visible partially, I'm going to use a screwdriver. So as to not lose any of the screws, when I remove the screws, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten the fan blade down, which this is the only thing that mounts these fan blades. Just 2 big screws. So we wanna make sure that we get it tight. All right, we did one, which would make this extremely unbalanced. So we're gonna go ahead and do the rest of them. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the little trick. See how I'm holding the screwdriver up, or the screw up with the screwdriver? That's letting me start the screw without needing an extra person to hold stuff for me. Well, we've got 2. 3. We got 3. And that's a 4 right there. All right, there we have it. There's all 5. Isn't that exciting? On to the next step. All right, I've went ahead and I've removed all the screws from here. You can see that there's a notch here though. What do you think the notch is for? Oh look, the connectors come out through there. So that way you don't pinch off the wires. So make sure you pay attention to that. We're gonna come up here, we're gonna connect the white to the white. And the blue to the blue, or the black to the blue. Now we got to put the wires so they will be in the notch. So the next step is to push all the wiring together, push it up in here, and then get a screw started. The first one is going to be the hard one. You almost have to do a little bit of ninja move here. Okay, the big one's out of the way. Tighten that first one down. Now the rest will be much easier. That's the hard one, like I said. So now we've got 2 other mounting screws we need to put in, which is what we're gonna do now. Light mounting is done. Now let's put a bulb in it and put the shade on there. Let's get that done. Okay, so we're on the finishing touches here. Guys, this is the majority. It looks like a ceiling fan, right? So we just got to put a bulb in. Have to put the shade on. Which is spring loaded, by the way. There's that. And one of the main reasons why I picked this particular fan is because unlike most other fans, it still has pull cords, which is great for this being a rental because somebody's gonna lose a remote. So now we just gotta climb up here and hook our little extensions on. I don't know what unified portal is. Let's find out. Hello, this is Jeff.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, Jeff. Forgive me for disturbing you. But I'm reaching out to those realtors in Burlington area who pays for own insurance. Would that be you, Jeff? Do you pay for your own insurance?
Well, I am also an insurance agent, so yes, I pay for my own insurance through my own brokerage.
Yeah, well, good luck to us. You have a good day.
All right, you as well. Thanks.
All right.
So there you go. Sometimes being an insurance agent and a realtor will get people off your back because they were just trying to sell insurance. All right, now let's go ahead and get this extension clipped on. And guys, we did it. We have ourselves a ceiling fan. Well, let's go click that breaker back on and we'll see what the magic that happens when we turn this thing on. Let's shine a little light on the situation here. All right, real quick before we turn this bad boy on, check out this tripod setup. That's how I was giving you guys that view. So that should be worth liking and subscribing for, because I'm gonna get you the shot so you can see how to do it yourself. And if you hit the like button or comment down below, that actually will push this video to more people on YouTube. It says, hey, more people would enjoy this. So if you could do that for me, just drop down below what you had for breakfast. That'd be great. And then they said, let there be light. Well, as you can see, the light works. Let's find out which one of these is the fan. Hey, look at that. And guys, there you have it. That's a quiet ceiling fan, and that's how you replace one. If you have any questions, drop them down below in the comments. Otherwise, hit a like, subscribe, and watch another video for me. I would appreciate it very much. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, this has been Handy Jeff. We'll see you in another video.